Before we begin tonight's meeting, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the recent passing of Councillor John Hunter, who was a councillor for the Howden ward from 2004 to 2024, and Councillor Anne Arkle, who was a councillor for Camperdown ward from 2010 to 2018. I invite everyone present to join me in observing a minute's silence as we reflect on their life and contribution to the people of North Tyneside. Thank you. Thank you. Also, before we begin the discussions, I've had discussions, with the monitoring officer, and I've decided to reorder the business of tonight's meeting. We will take the I think I'll go back and start again. Declarations of interest before the public questions. Must apologise. So I've received apologies from Councillor John Johnston, Councillors Matthew Thirlaway, Councillor James Shaw. Are there any other apologies for absences?
Councillor Dr. Ollie Scargill and Councillor McAlpine is running late.
Sorry.
Councillor David Drummond.
Thank you. So, like I say, we'll do item 3 now, which is obviously item 3 on the agenda, which is 2 tonight. Members are asked to declare any registrable or non-registrable interests and any relevant dispensations which have been granted in relation to any matters appearing on the agenda. The members should also complete the card and return it to the Democratic Services Officer. Councillor Johnson.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I have a registrable interest in item 2, public questions, question 1. I am one of the council's representatives in its shareholding in Tynemouth Station Developments Limited, where we have a minority shareholding. I have a dispensation for that item.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Again, I have the same registrable non-pecuniary with dispensation interest in question 2. I represent the council in their minority shareholder as a director of station developments. Thank you.
Thank you. Therefore, that will take us to item 2, which is the I've received 2 questions from members of the public to be asked at this meeting. Each questioner in attendance will have 2 minutes to ask their initial question and a further minute to ask a supplementary question. Any supplementary questions must arise directly out of the substantive question or the reply. The person responding to the question has 5 minutes to reply, and the initial questioner has 2 minutes to reply to the supplementary question. Therefore, question 1 is from Mrs. Davis. Ms. Davis is in attendance.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to
take the
read-
question as read, or you're going to?
I'm going to read the question. Thank you.
Thank you.
The Palestine mural at Noctima Station, which was a friendship mural created by young Palestinian refugees in 2012, was removed. The metro station from the metro station in October 2023 after council received a threat that it could be defaced. Since then, a petition was organised and received over 2,000 signatures requesting that it be reinstated. The council have stated that the artwork will be put back when the time is right. The UK government formally recognised the state of Palestine on the 21st of September 2025. I recognise that negotiations have been taking place with the Station Development Limited. However, it has been 2 years since the artwork has been removed. Please can the Cabinet member let us know when this artwork is going to be reinstated at Tynemouth Station, and if not, what suitable sites have been investigated as an alternative?
Mayor Carrigan.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for your question. I see that we do have some people in the audience tonight from the Shatilla Mural Group. Can I just say a very warm welcome to tonight's council meeting. It's lovely to see you here. Thank you. I can report that officers have been working closely with the Shatilla Mural Group since the mural was first removed in response to the threat referenced in your question. Together, all possible options have been explored, and we are pleased to confirm that a suitable new location has been identified. The group has visited the site and is satisfied that it will provide an appropriate new home for the mural. That site will be the White Swan Centre in Killingworth. Thank you.
Do you have a supplementary?
Yes, I do. Thank you. I'd like to ask how the site at Killingworth White Swan Centre was actually thought of suitable when the community of Tynemouth were the ones who actually helped create that mural with local artists. And also there's been no negotiation with the community around this, and the station development have been unresponsive. And we have 2 cabinet members here who are on that group, and there has been very little information received from them. So there's been no consultation with the community. So I'd like to know how that decision was reached.
Thank you for your supplementary question. As I stated earlier, a lot of work has been going on in relation to identifying appropriate site for the mural, and that site has been agreed at the White Swan Centre in Killingworth. The work has been done in partnership with the group themselves and with the artists, and that's the agreed location. Thank you.
I'm sorry, but that was not an answer.
Sorry, that's it. Sorry. Thank you. That takes us to question 2 from Miss Hardwick. I don't believe Miss Hardwick is here, so we'll take the question as read. Councillor Hannah Johnson, I believe you're answering this one.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Thank you for your question. The Council has a statutory duty to take reasonable steps to reduce the risk of snow and ice on the highway. When icy conditions are forecast, we have prioritised gritting around 240 miles of main road to keep key routes open for emergency services and public transport. Whilst there is no legal requirement to remove snow and ice from pavements, we understand the importance of keeping pavements as safe as possible for residents. During prolonged cold spells, we aim to treat secondary routes along, including access to schools, sheltered accommodation, town centres and areas with steep gradients. There are over 190 grit bins in place across the borough, which are maintained and replenished. These allow residents to treat nearby pavements and walkways during icy conditions, and the bins are monitored and refilled when required. Thank you again for your question.
Thank you. That takes us to back into the actual agenda, which is agenda. Tell you what. Item 4.
Chair, before before you ask for the minutes to be agreed, could I request that the minutes of the council meeting held on the 27th of November 2025 are amended, please? On page 8 of this evening's papers, the minutes of that meeting record in paragraph C28/25 that Councillor Wendy Locke and I both declared a non-registrable personal interest in item 4 of that agenda. The simple fact is that prior to the meeting, we both submitted the cards declaring that interest as a precautionary measure in case the debate widened to include the school in which our daughter works. The debate didn't widen, the school wasn't mentioned, and therefore there was no interest to declare. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. With those comments actually given, is there anything else from the minutes, or can we accept them as read? Read. Now on to item 5, which is the annual programme committee meetings. We move to item 5, the annual committee meetings. Can I ask the elected mayor to move to recommendation in this report?
Thank you, Chair. The report before Council this evening proposes a timetable of meetings for 2026-27. It also sets out the dates of Council meetings during 2026-27, at which questions are proposed to be taken from members of the public. The timetable has been drawn up on similar principles to those used when setting the current year's timetable of meetings. Suggested commencement times of meetings also reflect those in place for the current municipal year. It is proposed that, as for the current year, 3 council meetings will be designated for public questions. These are suggested to be the meetings to be held on the 23rd of July 26, 26th of November 26, and 28th of January 2027. I would like to move the recommendations as set out in paragraph 1.2 of the report. Thank you, Chair.
Do you have a seconder?
Second and reserved right to speak, Chair.
Any questions or comments? Yeah, move to vote. That's unanimous. Thank you. Now move on to item 6, which is the motions. We have 3 valid motions have been received and are included in the agenda. Details of the legal and financial implications of each of the motions have been circulated to all members prior to the meeting. I would like to remind members that the electronic voting system is available. Therefore, I ask motion 1, which is Councillor Lewis Bartoli.
Thank you, Chair. The motion I'm proposing this evening is rooted in a very simple principle that you don't grow visitor economy by making it more expensive to visit, and you don't strengthen our coastal communities by piling extra cost and bureaucracy onto small family-run businesses that are already under pressure. And if anyone thinks that this is only this side of the chamber saying that, I'd invite them to read their own draft local plan, because it supports what we are saying. The draft is clear that tourism is a major part of our local economy. Millions of visitors, hundreds of millions in value, and thousands of jobs. The plan is also crystal clear that the council want to support growth of the visitor economy across the borough. And it highlights exactly the places that would be hardest hit by a tax hike, namely the coast and our heritage offer. But it goes further than just the warm words. Under section 3.6, the plan explicitly supports continued investment to grow the coastal economy and encourages proposals, and I quote from the plan, will improve the quality of experience for tourists and enable more overnight stays. And then it supports new visitor accommodation, specifically including our bed and breakfasts in that same section. And as for coastal areas, section 4.7 says development will be supported where it manages visitor impacts while supporting year-round activity and local businesses. And the plan's own economic growth strategy talks about expanding attractions and visitor accommodation and making the most of our coastline. So here's the question. How can we with a straight face ask residents to back our own local plan that says enable more overnight stays, support growth, support local businesses, and then turn around and impose a tax that does the exact opposite? Because the government's proposal is exactly that, a mandatory tax on overnight stays, hotels, guest houses, short-term lets, B&Bs, even while acknowledging it would raise the cost for visitors and create extra administrative burden for providers. And we all know that tax lands hardest on places like Tynemouth, Cullercoats and Whitley Bay, a coastal visitor economy that's built on affordability, short stays and small family-run accommodation operating on tight margins. And it's not just tourists. This levy hits North Tyneside's residents too. Couples booking a local hotel for a wedding, families staying over after a party, people visiting relatives, business travellers staying here locally, our residents choosing a staycation on their own doorstep. Why would we tax our own residents for staying in their own borough? And we should also be honest about the wider economic point. The lessons we keep learning nationally is that if you tax and burden people more, you don't magically create growth. You reduce demand, you divert trade, you squeeze margins, and that costs jobs. It becomes easier for people to choose a cheaper option elsewhere. And in the case of North Tyneside, elsewhere is very close. The motion notes that our own North East Mayor has enthusiastically welcomed the tourist tax, even suggesting she might double an initial proposal of £1 per night, while the Tees Valley Mayor has ruled one out. That creates a clear risk that North Tyneside and the wider region become less price competitive against nearby visiting economies. And this is not just in the abstract, it's consumer behaviour. If one place adds a charge and another doesn't, people notice, and many will choose the cheaper option. So we will be inflicting a totally unnecessary wound on our own coastal economy. And let's talk about the real world impact, because this is not all just theoretical. In the public gallery tonight, we have the owners of a bed and breakfast in Tynemouth, one of many who've been in touch with us. They're family run, and they estimate that this cost could cost their customers up to £7,000 extra each year. And it's not just the money, it's the stress and admin. They have to collect it, keep records, explain it to guests, deal with the arguments at the desk, handle the inevitable online reviews when people feel they've been stung with an extra charge. That's extra bureaucracy piled onto people who are already working every hour they can. And what happens next is obvious. To survive, they either swallow that cost, which is impossible, or they put their prices up. That makes them less competitive, risks driving bookings elsewhere, and ultimately threatens their livelihoods. That's not supporting the visitor economy, that's punishing it. There's also the fairness issue we can't ignore. The North East Mayor has suggested these taxes could be spent on events and visitor assets outside North Tyneside, while the cost and the administrative burden lands on businesses here. So our coast takes the hit and somewhere else may get the benefit. That's not a deal that we're prepared to try and sell to Tynemouth, Cullercoats, Whitley Bay, or any part of North Tyneside. And to my Labour colleagues, you don't have to defend every policy that drops out of a regional or national.
Councillor Bartoli,
policy.
could you stop winding up, please? You've had your 5 minutes. Thank you.
I was expecting a minute's warning, but
So, well, I'm just saying if you could do it, wind up. Sorry, you're at your 5 minutes. Yeah.
apologies, Chair, sorry. Looking across the chamber tonight, I see at least a dozen members who know they aren't going to be here after May. Why not once vote for what's right locally, back the people who keep the lights on in our visitor economy, and the residents who want to stay local, spend local, and enjoy what we have on their doorstep, rather than punish them for it. If we're serious about supporting the coast and enabling more overnight stays, then we should be making it easier to visit, easier to stay, and easier to run a small business here, not harder. If we vote for this motion tonight, we send a clear message. North Tyneside wants a stronger visitor economy, more overnight stays, and a thriving coastal businesses as set out in our own local plan.
Thank you,
Not
Councillor
another
Bartoli.
tax and a new layer of bureaucracy that puts it all at risk. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Do you have a second there, Councillor Bartoli?
Second, reserve the right to speak, Chair.
And now I invite members to speak to the motion.
Thank you, Chair. we will be voting against this motion. And that's because government consultation is actually still currently taking place over the issue of mayoral powers to introduce visitor levies. If it was agreed, the earliest it would be introduced would actually be April 28. What I'd like to say is I would encourage all visitor accommodation providers in North Tyneside to respond to the consultation. The deadline is the 18th of February. We are working with the North East Combined Authority and will continue to do so whilst the consultation is being undertaken until all the facts are known and the consultation process has concluded. The Council will not be writing to the North East Mayor. The visitor levy is set to become a standard feature in many locations in the UK and beyond, including in rural and coastal areas. All options need to be considered so the North East does not fall behind other regions. We are working with the Combined Authority to ensure that any future levy, should it be introduced, is fair, targeted and aligned with wider investment in skills, transport and placemaking. We will ensure that we will do everything within our remit to make sure North Tyneside benefits from any ring-fenced investment. The visitor economy is an important sector in North Tyneside. Last year, we attracted 5.5 million visitors, which directly supports 3,100 jobs and a further 4,050 indirect jobs. There is an ambition to double the size of the region's visitor economy in the next 10 years, and the North East Combined Authority will lead on the promotion of the region with Experience North East. North Tyneside Council is working with its partners to play our part in that, to ensure that the economy of North Tyneside benefits. So we'll be voting against this motion because consultation is still in place. No decisions have actually been taken. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Wallace.
Thank you, Chairman. I support this motion. It's well known that if you tax something, you discourage it. For that reason, successive governments have taxed cigarettes to discourage smoking. Similarly, the sugar tax to discourage the use of sugar. And this tourist tax will have a similar effect. It will discourage tourism in our area. With regard to the Mayor's comments, the fact that the consultation is still open is completely irrelevant. This is an ideal opportunity for the Council to express its disapproval of the suggested levy. And as for the idea that any money raised from it will be targeted, that sounds to me very like a lot more money being wasted by the state and a lot less being left in taxpayers' pockets. Thank you.
Councillor J. Bartwine.
Thank you, Chair. I am supporting this motion because this is one of the moments where local government needs to be honest about what works for our area and what doesn't. Our coast thrives on being affordable. People come to Tynemouth, Whitley Bay and Cullercoats for short breaks, weekend stays and family trips. They come because it's welcoming and good value. A tourist levy would chip away at exactly that and make staying here more expensive overnight. Just because the government may be giving mayors the power to introduce an overnight levy doesn't mean it's the right thing to use it. Even government briefings themselves admit that these levies push up costs for visitors and add extra admin for accommodation providers. And let's be clear, those businesses are already under pressure from a failing Labour government that is causing higher energy bills, staff shortages and increased business rates. And there's the issue of if a levy was introduced at combined authority level, there's no guarantee the money raised in North Tyneside would actually be spent in North Tyneside. Local hotels, B&Bs and guest houses will pay the bills, while the money could be redirected elsewhere. That's treating areas like Tynemouth, Whitley Bay and Cullercoats like cash cows for the whole of the North East. Supporting tourism doesn't mean taxing it. If we want more visitors, we should be investing in the basics: clean streets, safe public spaces, good transport and real support for small businesses, not putting up barriers that make people think twice about coming here. This motion isn't anti-growth, it's grounded in reality. It recognises who we are, how our visitor economy actually works, and imposing a tourist tax is a risk we can't afford to take. For those reasons, I'm fully supporting the motion and urge the Mayor to make this Council's opposition clear. Thank you.
don't have anybody else indicating, so can Councillor Bartoli, would you like to have your right to reply?
Thank you, Chair. I'm as usual unsurprised by the party opposite. They always seem to toe the party line rather than actually support the residents. I have to echo the words of Councillor Wallace. The fact there's a consultation in place is completely irrelevant. This was a great opportunity for North Tyneside to send a clear message that we don't want this tax. And it would be nice if the party opposite were just honest and said they do want this tax. They want to tax our residents. They want to tax our businesses, because that's what's ultimately going to happen. We all know where this is headed. The North East Mayor has made it clear that we're going to have this levy imposed upon us. And this was a great opportunity for us as a borough, I think, to separate ourselves out. And I'd like to say I'm disappointed, but I probably just reality is set in when it comes to the party opposite.
Thank you, Councillor. We'll now go to the vote. Those in favour?
All members, please vote now, please. If all members have voted, I'll close the vote.
That's eight in favour and 47 against. The motion failed. Now go to motion 2. Can I invite Councillor Bones to move the motion?
Thank you, Chair. This motion is about simple principle. If we wouldn't accept a risk for our own children, we should not accept it for children in our care. In recent weeks, the government has finally acknowledged what parents, teachers and professionals have been saying for years, that unregulated access to algorithm-driven social media is harming our children. Ministers have now accepted the need for tougher action, including age limits and stronger protections for under 16s. Local Conservatives have been clear and consistent on this. Last year, we brought a motion to this chamber on banning social media in schools. Every single member opposite voted against that plan. Yet this week, we've seen the cabinet member heralding a ban on phones in schools in the local paper. Has he no shame? How many hours of valuable teaching time have been lost due to phones in classrooms in North Tyneside in that time? Local Conservatives support firm boundaries and not endless consultation, as we're seeing from government. We believe that childhood should be protected, not monetised by Silicon Valley algorithms designed to maximise addiction, outrage and exposure to harmful content. And yet, while national policy catches up, children in our care are being exposed to that right now. Children looked after by this council are among the most vulnerable in our communities. Many have experienced trauma, neglect, exploitation, and we should never shrug our shoulders and say, that's the world we live in. If the risk was alcohol or drugs or unsafe environments, we would step in, we would put in place rules and we would safeguard. So why should it be any different for social media? The evidence is clear that most harmful content isn't searched for, it's pushed by algorithms that don't care whether a user is 8, 12 or 14. Platforms that reward engagement, not well-being. And this motion doesn't ban phones, it doesn't isolate children, it doesn't remove professional judgment. What it does is to set out a clear position that children under 16 in the care of North Tyneside Council should not be using algorithm-driven social media platforms unless there is a clear, recorded safeguarding or therapeutic reason to allow it. It embeds that principle into foster arrangements, care homes and care plans, and it ensures that any exemptions are properly signed off, reviewed and justified. It provides carers and staff with the tools that they need to apply this consistently across our service. It's not authoritarian, it's responsible parenting. We hear from the Prime Minister that it should be up to parents whether or not children access social media. We are corporate parents. This is exactly the kind of role and responsibility we should be taking. We often speak in this chamber about being a good corporate parent, and that's what this looks like. It's clear boundaries, common sense, and putting children's long-term well-being ahead of convenience or pressure from big tech. The government's moving in this direction, albeit slowly. Parents across the country are demanding it, and young people themselves are asking for stronger limits. So why are we waiting? I hope that this won't be another missed opportunity to protect our children. that the party opposite won't dither and delay until they wait from a diktat from Westminster and from the Prime Minister. I hope that we can all support this motion that will protect our children, protect children in our care, and move in a direction that we all know the government is likely to follow. Thank you, Chair.
Do you have a seconder?
Second the motion and speak to it. Yeah. Thank you, Chair. Chair, as a rule of thumb, I prefer as little government interference in our daily lives as possible. But in this instance, I take the opposite view. Our children and grandchildren are spending far too much time online in an environment which is comparable to the Wild West. The Academy of Medical Royal Colleges has declared a public health emergency over the effect screen time and harmful online content is having on children's physical and mental well-being. Dr. Zaria Haider, President of the Royal College of Sexual and Reproductive Health, is concerned how easy it is for young children to access online pornography, which results in them thinking dangerous behaviour is the normal way to act. One A&E doctor recently described treating a teenage girl who was bleeding profusely after allowing her boyfriend to use sharp knives on her. She later died from her injuries. At a meeting chaired by Baroness Cass, Dr. Jeanette Dixon said, "I really worry for children, some of whom are self-evidently imprisoned in a digital bubble." Also at this meeting, a police psychiatrist said half of his 13 and 14-year-old referrals had seen beheading videos on their phones. An optometrist stated that more children were needing reading glasses at a younger age because of excessive screen time. Another psychiatrist described atrophy of spatial memory as more children relied upon apps to navigate their lives. A paediatric professor said children with ADHD were particularly at risk. He said there is a lot of content that offers addictive reward responses. And these are but a few examples of the harm done to our young children by this uncontrolled monster. While I applaud the government's intervention in an attempt to make schools a phone-free environment, I believe it does not go far enough. There is no control during out-of-school time and holiday time. If the government refuses to act, this is a chance for North Tyneside to show leadership and get ahead of the game, ensuring all our children in care are protected from this online free-for-all. And for this reasons, Chair, I should be supporting this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Can I invite members to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Chair. North Tyneside Council is committed to safeguarding and promoting the welfare of children and young people and adults at risk of harm. All staff and volunteers are expected to share this commitment and to familiarise themselves with all relevant policies, procedures and guidance. The success of our approach was highlighted by Ofsted in the last Ofsted inspection report in January 2025, which North Tyneside was rated outstanding, and Ofsted said our safeguarding arrangements were robust and as a result children were safer because of the work the service is doing. The Council provides our foster carers and children's home staff with training and support to monitor and discuss social media usage with the children in their care in the way any good parent would. We also support the use of apps and firewalls to promote safe usage of the internet and, as far as we are able, ensure that our children in care are given access to hardware which is in line with their age and stage of development. In essence, we would expect that phone histories are checked, appropriate parental controls are in place, and usage is monitored so children are not excessively on their devices. This would be the case for all electronic devices, including phones, tablets, and TVs. Our IT and Employment and Skills Department run educational courses offered across the service to care leavers, personal advisors, and carers regarding safe internet, including the use of passwords, banking, chat rooms, etc. Where we do have children who have specific risks linked to social media usage, we do restrict their access to social media through the removal of the devices which provide this access. But this is only ever time limited and in line with the risk identified at the time. We will pay close attention to the national picture, and if legislation changes for all children, we will change our policies accordingly. Turning to the substance of the motion itself, There is indeed a recently announced national government consultation on a proposal to ban all children under 16 years of age from accessing social media. Any attempt by the council to impose a blanket policy restricting access to social media for our children in care before this is concluded and any national actions taken would potentially discriminate against our children in care and would be challenging to implement and enforce. As you will appreciate, access to social media is not legally restricted at this stage in this country. It is considered that the authority could be criticised by the Family Court and CAFCAS for a blanket policy approach to this matter for all our children in care, notwithstanding the exemption that is suggested in the motion. The social media consultation will seek views on a range of measures, including determining the right minimum age for children to access social media, including exploring a ban for children under a certain age, exploring ways to improve the accuracy of age assurance for children to support the enforcement of minimum age limits so children have age-appropriate experiences and see age-appropriate content. We'll also be involved in assessing whether the current digital age of consent is too low. We'll look at removing or limiting functionalities which drive addictive or compulsive use of social media, such as infinite scrolling, and exploring further interventions to support parents in helping their child navigate the digital landscape. For example, further guidance on simpler parental controls. In addition, there will be an immediate action for Ofsted to check schools' phone use policies in every inspection, with an expectation that schools will be phone-free by default. If the national picture changes, then the council would of course abide by any new legislation on this area and have expectations that all our carers and children in care would abide by that as and when it happens. However, for the reasons already given, I cannot support this motion at this stage.
Thank you, Councillor. I don't have any. Oh, sorry, Councillor Barton.
Thank you, Chair. As Councillor Bones has already pointed out, this motion is about our duties as a corporate parent to actively safeguard the well-being of children in our care. The motion accepts a simple reality. Children are spending record amounts of time online and they don't have to go looking for harm. Harm finds them. For children in care, that risk can be even greater. Grooming, exploitation, bullying and exposing to damaging content. We have both a moral duty and a practical responsibility to set clear boundaries, just as we do in every other area of safeguarding. And the ask here is fairly straightforward. Under 16s in our care shouldn't be holding accounts on algorithm-driven social media platforms with sensible exemptions where appropriate and clear guidance for carers and staff. And there's a wider point. We've all watched the pattern play out recently on mobile phone bans in schools. We brought this forward in March last year and the Labour group opposite unanimously voted it down, only to proudly start adopting it now that it's become Labour policy. We've seen a similar shape to the debate on the rape gang inquiries, shouted down and insulted first, embraced later. A familiar pattern is emerging. The Conservatives raise an issue, Labour dismiss it, usually with insults, and then months later it's re-announced as Labour policy, as if it was obvious all along. Well, this is one of those moments where members can be ahead of the curve. If Labour are now happy to talk tough on mobile phones in schools, then it's only consistent to back stronger protections for children in our care, online as well. Back this motion because it's right, but do it the first time, not after another inevitable Labour U-turn when the damage has already been done. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Wallace. Right. Sorry, Councillor Wallace.
Thank you, Chairman. I support this motion and I entirely agree that children do spend far too long online. However, I would point out that in this chamber there are very often members who are completely glued to their devices during meetings, and perhaps we should be leading by example rather than do as I say rather than do as I do. Thank you.
Councillor Smith.
I understand this motion comes from a place of well-being and the intention to protect children. The one issue I do have is that this could be seen to stigmatise one group of children. So I would certainly support a complete ban on children having their mobiles or access to this kind of internet content that you talk about, and that may make the more vulnerable kids, the kids in care, being more stigmatized within their peer group or within their friends groups, because they wouldn't have access to the internet for certain stuff that their friends would have. But other than that, that would be my only concern, and I would think it would be best if it was a blanket ban. And I'm not really that in favour of that, but that would be my suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. So no other indications. Therefore, I would ask Councillor Bones to exercise his right to reply.
Thank you, Chair. I feel ashamed to be sat opposite the Cabinet member and in the room while councillors opposite tell us that there's nothing more we can do to protect our children, when we're sat with a clear motion in front of us with an action that this council can take to protect our children, but the party opposite refuse to back it. Instead of backing it, they hide behind an endless consultation from the government. We all know the direction of travel the government's moving in. This is an opportunity to get ahead of that, to make sure that we don't have many, many months more of children accessing these algorithm-driven social media sites, which push content, as Councillor Lilly described. I also question whether or not the Cabinet member would allow children in his own family to access TikTok or X and receive these videos being pushed to them at 8, 9, 10 years old of beheadings, of stabbings, of murders, all across X and TikTok. Would the Cabinet member be happy for that in his own family? And if the answer to that, as I suspect it is no, then why on earth is he happy for that for children in our care? There's a huge sense of irony that the Cabinet member is talking about banning phones in schools when he himself voted against it just 10 months ago in this chamber. What is the point of having a single member of the Cabinet if not one of them will take a decision for themselves, will take an action which will protect our children, if all they do is wait for legislation and wait for messages from central government on how they should move forward? What on earth is the point of having a single member sat around that Cabinet table? Finally, the Cabinet member is living in a different era. There is a complete misunderstanding about algorithm-driven social media and what he's pushing to our children. It is not a case of firewalls and hardware as being the problem. If any of our children have access to X or TikTok, they will have these videos pushed in front of them. It is not blocked by a firewall. If the Cabinet member is saying that he is happy for our children to have TikTok accounts, to have X accounts, then he is saying that our children are welcome to view this content. And I think that's quite shameful, actually. We, as corporate parents, should be acting responsibly. We should be taking a proactive approach to protecting our children, as I'm sure all of the parents in the room would for their own children. And as I said, I'm frankly ashamed to sit in the room while Labour councillors let our children be subjected to this going forward. Thank you, Chair.
Right, we'll now go to the vote.
Can all members please vote now? If all members have voted, I'll close the vote now.
Sorry, 7 for the motion, 1 abstention and 47 against. The motion fails. Thank you. Now go to motion 3. Can I invite Councillor Bones to move the motion?
Thank you, Chair. Over the past fortnight, we've had hundreds of requests from residents asking for one simple thing: a grip bin in their neighbourhood. People aren't asking for glossy campaigns or corporate rebrands. They're asking to be able to walk safely to the shops, to the bus stop, to a GP appointment in icy weather, just like we saw a few weeks ago, without fearing that they will trip over. We all know the council doesn't have the resources to grit every residential street, every footpath, no matter how good our intentions. But our residents should be able to expect that we will be able to give them the resources they need to do it themselves, to clear the paths, to make sure that areas outside of sheltered accommodation, bungalows, GP surgeries are gritted, and they're happy to do it themselves. They just need the resources. And that's exactly why grit bins matter. They're practical, they're cheap, and they let communities act quickly when conditions turn dangerous, as they did just a few weeks ago. This motion is about common sense. It doesn't ask for more tax. It doesn't pretend that money's unlimited. It reprioritises a small amount of spending and puts it where residents are clearly telling us it's needed. When we get hundreds of requests from residents about one issue in just a couple of weeks, that should make us all listen. We should all take into account that residents are only asking because it's not currently in place. So I hope that all of us will come together, support this plan, fully funded plan for 100 new grit bins across the borough, and make sure that the next time we have icy weather, the roads and pavements are not quite as treacherous as they were just a few weeks ago. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor. Do you have a seconder?
Second, Chair. I'll speak as well, please. This is one of those areas where the council has to be honest about what matters most to residents day to day. Safety first, nice to have branding second. Every winter, it's the same thing. Icy pavements, untreated footpaths, and avoidable falls. And every winter, residents ask the same question: why wasn't there a grit bin here? Council have already given us the numbers. An extra 100 grit bins would cost around £12,500 in capital and £15,500 a year in revenue. In the scale of the council's budget, that isn't something impossible to get. It's a question of priorities. And that's what this motion is really about. When money is tight, we should be putting it into the basics that keep people safe, not into discretionary marketing, external comms and promotional activity. Before the party opposite starts with their criticism, I want to be clear that nobody's suggesting we scrap statutory notices, election information, public health messaging or emergency comms. Those have to remain protected. This is about a nice to have extras. The truth is, residents don't judge this council by glossy campaigns. They judge it by whether their mum, dad or grandma can walk to the shops without slipping. They judge it by whether we've done the obvious thing to prevent injuries in the first place. This motion also gets something right that matters politically. It doesn't reach for a council tax rise. It says repositorise what we've already spent and put it where it makes a real difference on the ground. And I will support the way it's meant to be delivered. Grit bin locations shouldn't be decided by one-size-fits-all maps. Ward councillors know where the problem spots, and highway officers know where the practicalities. That's how you get bins where they're actually needed. I hope everyone will support this fully funded to make our streets safe. Thank you.
Now invite members to speak on the motion. Anna Johnson.
Yep, I'd just like to move an amendment, please. I believe it's been sent to officers.
Could I ask Councillor Johnson to move your motion amendment? Sorry.
That's okay. Thank you. We wanted it to be recognised that we do, as a council.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
We just wanted to make sure it was recognised as a council that we do already significantly spend on our winter maintenance to the tune of £361,894. And there is also 190 grit bins across the borough, with 140 miles of priority roads part of the network access as well. We are happy to commit to looking into putting the 100 additional grit bins in as well, because we recognise that for residents, as we've seen as a public question, it is a priority for them. Particularly, obviously, recently we know there's been some pretty icy patches, so we want to make sure residents feel safe and like they're provided with that service. As we've noted already, residents can ask for a grit bin at any point, and you can just go online and do that, and it'll be assessed according to the policy. So that's always an option for residents as well. So that's why we've moved the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Do you have a seconder?
Second reserved right to speak, Chair.
Does any member want to speak on the amendment? Councillor Bailey.
Thank you, Chair. Speaking in support of the amendment. Chair, fellow councillors, anyone who's tried to walk to the shops in the snow. Recently, I woke up in Tynemouth, looked outside, saw, that beautiful place covered in a glorious blanket of snow. Beautiful, right? Unless you're my neighbour who looks at that and thinks, oh God, I'm worried I'm going to break my hip. And the fact is, sadly, hip injuries for people aged 60 and over, morbidity runs at about 50%. So half of people who break a hip are dead within 10 years, which is a shocking statistic. That should be a call to arms. This motion is written by people who sound like they themselves haven't cleared a footway, at least to me. I'm not here to berate them. In fact, I do support the idea of more grit bins across our borough. But let's face it, most of us aren't doing this at the moment, and that needs to change. I'm grateful that they brought this up. It's about time that we started to talk about snow, shovels, ploughs, and even a bit of grit. When I lived in Manhattan, New York City, I saw industrial scale snow clearing turned into a city-wide sport. The bin crews outfitted their wagons with snow chains and snow ploughs. Parks vehicles zipped through city squares clearing snow. New Yorkers themselves grabbed a shovel and competed like it was an Olympic sport. That's a place that thrives, whatever the weather, on teamwork, grit, and a lot of coffee. We're not going to solve all of this tonight. Grit bins are part of the solution, but they're not all of the solution. I've asked colleagues to look at this in scrutiny. I know that Councillor Murphy is keen on that idea as well. My snow shovel, which I use in Tynemouth, is 6 foot long, 2.5 feet wide. You could call it the Excalibur of snow shovels. We can buy instruments like that now at half the price we will in 6 months' time. In New York, Mayor Mandami was out recently with his shovel in Brooklyn. That city, they ask people to shovel early and often. Why would they do that? Well, if you get to snow before it's compacted and frozen, you need less salt. Salt is not great for our environment. It also requires an awful lot of effort, less effort to clear snow. I can clear 200 metres of path in about 15 minutes. A little sprinkling of grit takes about a minute. That's 14 minutes of shovelling. Some local authorities elsewhere recruit volunteers to do this and equip them to the same level that I'm equipped to do this as someone who's been doing this in Tynemouth for years. I think we need to look at initiatives like that as well as more grit bins. The costs of it are comparatively small. We've got existing pots of funding which can support initiatives like that. I'm happy to commit tonight to look at things like our local infrastructure fund, our funding for community initiatives, And I'll be really keen to hear my ward colleagues support me in that, you know, regardless of party politics. If we're canny, the small sums that have been talked about tonight could well go a lot further. Imagine me drilling a squad of 8 volunteers down Front Street, like a small Tyneside mums and dads army. That may sound funny, but actually, council, that's the spirit we need. Volunteering, this is essentially what we're talking about. Personally, I think we should also look at equipping our council teams better, but that requires a level of thought that we're not going to see in council tonight.
You have 1 minute.
Thank you. That's why I'm keen to see this go through scrutiny as well as support this motion. To give you an example, this council owns 4 parks vehicles. It would cost £1,000 or £2,000 to outfit those with snow ploughs. There are existing budgets that could cover that. What is needed is the thought that could come through putting this through scrutiny. So, Chair, I'm supporting this motion tonight. It's great to see more budget allocated. It's great to see that we already have existing budgets that can support these types of initiatives. But council, let's not settle for the same old routine. Let's build a North Tyneside where nobody fears a winter walk. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor.
Chair, I was going to say something, but I'm not sure anyone can quite follow that. I think we should leave it at that. I thought that was magnificent. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Bones, you do have the right to reply. Sorry.
I did reserve.
Yeah,
Indeed,
yeah.
reserves right. Thank you, Chair. I'm just personally excited. The Conservatives over there are talking about budgets again. So they've talked a lot about lowering tax tonight. So I fully expect them to be lowering council tax in their budget in a couple of weeks' time in this chamber when we set it, Chair.
Now, Councillor Bones.
Thank you, Chair. I do take issue with some parts of this amendment, not least that it claims that we have a good coverage of grip bins across North Tyneside. That's clearly not backed up by the hundreds of requests we've had in the last 2 weeks from our residents. But to set that aside, I am delighted that local Conservatives have secured this concession from the Mayor and Cabinet, and that next time we have icy weather in North Tyneside, our residents will be safe in the knowledge that there are 100 more grip bins and they are less likely to fall over and it is easier to get around. I'm really, really pleased with the outcome of that, and we will be supporting the substantive.
In that case, can we go to the vote on the amendment?
So, complete members, please vote on the amendment. I'll close the vote on the amendment, please.
That's 46 for the amendment and it's 9, yeah.
Can we reset and do the vote again, please? Can I ask all members to vote again on the amendment? If all members have voted, I'll close the vote.
And we now have 46 for and 8 against. The amendment is carried. So now the amendment is a substantial motion. Therefore, we can open the debate on this motion. Go direct to the vote.
If members can vote now, please, on the now substantive motion. Thank you. I'll close the vote.
That's unanimous. Thank you very much. Thank you. That brings us to item 7. We have actually received 7 valid questions from the members of the council for this meeting. First question is from Councillor Lee.
Yeah.
Who's that? Councillor Early, I believe.
This is a matter for the Secretary of State to determine, not North Tyneside Council. The sale and supply of puberty suppressing hormones, aka puberty blockers, to under 18s for the treatment of gender dysphoria is currently banned and has been since May 2024.
Do you have a supplementary?
No, just thank the member for his answer. No supplementary.
That takes us to question 2. Again, Councillor Lilly, would you like to ask?
Thank you, Chair. What is the Mayor's position on academy schools, and does the council actively support or discourage schools in North Tyneside from converting to academy status?
Councillor Phillips, I believe you're answering this one.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, thank you, Councillor Lilly. Academisation is a matter for individual schools, and the council doesn't actively support or discourage schools in North Tyneside from converting to academy status.
Do you have a supplementary, Councillor?
Thank you, Chair. That's not really a complete answer. Could Councillor Phillips say why then the council is supporting Monksheaton Middle to academise and why they are in favour of John Spence academising if they're granted a 6th form college?
Sorry, Councillor, it has to be relevant to your original question. Apologies, Councillor. Continue.
Can I ask the question? Just what's the council? I'll rephrase it. What's the council position on Monksheaton Middle School academising? Support for that academisation? Is it that the council is in favour of academisation, or is it just for political expediency and a veneer to placate the parents who are up in arms about the closure of Monksheaton Middle School?
Councillor Phillips.
Thank you, Chair. I'm totally unaware that Monksheaton Middle School was academising, so I'll have to double check that with my officers. But if they decide to do so, it'd be totally up to the school to decide whether they wanted to do so or not.
Thank you, Councillor. Takes us to question 3. Again, Councillor Lee.
Thank you, Chair. Can the Mayor tell the council how many schools in North Tyneside commemorated Holocaust Memorial Day last year?
Again, I think Councillor Phillips, you're taking this one.
Thank you, Chair. The council do encourage all schools in North Tyneside to commemorate Holocaust Memorial Week and invites them to attend the council's Holocaust Memorial event held each year. We do know that 14 schools attended the event last year, and we are aware that a lot of schools do their own kindly commemorations and things such as assemblies and things like that.
Yes, I have a supplementary. The Holocaust is a stain on the world's conscience. It should never be forgotten that 6 million Jews were murdered. As survivors are becoming fewer, our young people need to be reminded of this horror. Rather than a few pupils attending a one-off event, would remembrance not be better served if the council encouraged all schools to commemorate Holocaust Memorial Day in an unbiased and apolitical manner?
Councillor Phillips.
Yeah, just almost repeating part of me last answer. We do encourage all schools in North Tyneside to commemorate these events, and events do occur. They don't just have to come to the council, handpick children to come to the council. They are actively encouraged to do it in school as well, and especially in things like whole school assemblies, which involve all students. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Jay Bartoli.
Thank you, Chair. Does the Mayor agree that words matter and that elected officials have a responsibility to choose their language carefully when discussing sensitive or controversial issues?
Was that
Thank
elected
you.
Mayor?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Councillor Bartoli, for the question. Yes.
You have a supplementary?
If the Mayor agrees that words matter, so she must also believe members should be temperate in their use of language when discussing other members both inside and outside the chamber. With this in mind, can the Mayor explain why neither she nor the leader of the Labour group replied to letters sent by the leader of the Conservative group referring to this issue with regard to the language used by one of her members?
Thank you. Any issues to do with the behaviour or conduct of Labour group members is dealt with internally by Labour group. If you have any issues or concerns, you know, you can go through the agreed mechanisms through council, for example, standards committee, which is the correct way to address those issues, not here at full council. Thank you.
Thank you. That takes us to question 5, which is Councillor Bones.
Thank you, Chair. The Department for Transport has rated North Tyneside amber for road condition, while other local authorities have achieved green ratings. What lessons has the Mayor drawn from those other authorities, and what changes will she implement locally as a result?
Thank you, Councillor Hannah Johnson, to reply to this one.
Thank you, Chair. Nationally, only 16 of 154 authorities achieved a green rating overall. No councils in the North East received a green rating. North Tyneside was rated amber overall, which is consistent with the national picture. Very positively, however, we were rated green for expenditure. This reflects the Labour Group's continued commitment to invest an extra £2 million each year in roads and pavements on top of the existing budgets. Since the return of Capita delivered services back within the direct control of the authority, there has been a significant improvement, including the use of preventative maintenance treatments. The best thing as a council we could have done was not outsource the Capita contract back in 2012-2013. Those of us on this side of the chamber did point out all the issues we would face, but were overruled by the then Conservative administration, including some members who were still on the council. Now the service is back in-house, we are rolling out new and innovative highway servicing treatments which will result in better quality and longer-lasting highway repairs. These improvements will give us the best chance of achieving a green condition rating in future assessments. Thank you.
Thank you. To have a supplementary?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Roads and pavements are time and again rated as the most important issue for our residents, but this Labour Mayor is once again proposing a real terms cut to the roads and pavements budget in the upcoming budget. Doesn't she feel embarrassed that even her own government is now criticising her approach to fixing our roads, and isn't it time for a change of tack?
Councillor Johnson.
Thank you. As I said, the part of the reason why we brought Capita back in-house is because we realised this service needed improving. It was not the Labour Party that outsourced this service to Capita. It was the Tories that outsourced this service to Capita. Since we've had Labour administration in North Tyneside as well, we have always added £2 million extra into the transport budget. So we will work with colleagues across the region who did achieve green ratings in areas where we maybe didn't, to get the overall rating of above what it is. But we'll work towards that. But part of the problem is the previous Conservative administration.
Thank you, Councillor. Now we're at question 6, which is Councillor Frank Lott.
Thank you, Chair. There can be no doubt that the year-long event known as North Shields 800 has been a tremendous success. So, subject to resources being available, will the Mayor agree to North Tyneside Council continuing its work with the community, cultural and arts groups in North Shields to play a full part in the UK Town of Culture 2028 competition?
And the Mayor to respond, please.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the question. I'm delighted that we will be coordinating a bid to the Town of Culture competition for North Shields. I wholeheartedly agree that North Shields 800 has been a truly fantastic celebration and a remarkable achievement for the town. Over the past year, it has brought together so many groups and organisations in a way that has showcased both the rich history and the vibrant present of North Shields, whilst looking towards the future. Securing a lasting legacy from this success is an important and welcome ambition, and a bid for UK Town of Culture 2028 would be an exciting and natural next step. We will continue to work closely with community, cultural and arts organisations in North Shields to explore and support a bid that could bring significant long-term benefits to the town and its residents. Thank you.
Can I just say thank you?
You can indeed, thank you. Question 7 is from Councillor Thirlway. Unfortunately, he's not here this evening, so we'd have to take it as read. And I'd like the elected mayor to respond, please.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I'll be happy to ask the Head of Law as the authority's monitoring officer in consultation with the Standards Committee to consider this and to provide a report back to full council. Thank you.
That takes us on to item 8, which is the chair's announcement. You'll be pleased to know that, saying as I made such a hash of tonight, I won't be giving any announcements because I'd probably get it wrong. So therefore, I'll move straight and ask the mayor if she has an announcement.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I do. Since the last time we met in November, I've continued to meet and engage with our residents, businesses, training providers and community groups across North Tyneside. That includes holding 3 neighbourhood listening events on Saturday mornings in North Shields, Whitley Bay and Killingworth. The sessions have offered our residents the opportunity to speak directly with me and members of my cabinet to share their thoughts, concerns and ideas to help shape and inform council services. Our next neighbourhood listening event will take place at the Forum Shopping Centre in Wallsend on Saturday, the 21st of February. My visits to community groups and organisations have included a visit to North Tyneside Disability Forum, where I enjoyed time listening to service users, families and carers. And earlier this week, I met with members of the Tyne and Wear citizens, including children and young people, where discussion took place focused around local issues and ways of working together to achieve our desired outcomes. I've continued to meet with businesses and training providers across the borough and have recently been engaged with those driving growth in our green energy and offshore wind sectors. This has included participation in a roundtable discussion with Ed Miliband, Secretary of State for Energy Security, along with representatives from a range of innovative green energy businesses located along the Tyne Economic Corridor. The event, which was held in Wallsend, was organised by Mary Glindon MP and provided a great opportunity for businesses to share directly their views with the Minister and discuss how we can work together to fully maximise the opportunities the green energy revolution brings for economic growth and job creation. I've also visited Newcastle College Energy Academy in Wallsend for an exclusive showcase of their plans and progress in relation to the extension of the Energy Academy campus, funded by an investment of just under £8.5 million from the North East Combined Authority. This exciting development will increase access to specialist green energy skills and training right here in our borough on the banks of the Tyne. That training is directly aligned to the green energy employers and green energy industry needs, creating clear pathways for our residents to transition over or enter into jobs in the green energy sector. 25,000 new green energy jobs are projected in the North East region in the next 10 years, and I'm determined to ensure that residents of North Tyneside, and particularly our young people, have the best possible opportunity to access any new good quality jobs and all the positive and life-changing benefits that will bring. Last Friday, we marked Holocaust Memorial Day here at Quadrant. This year's theme, Bridging Generations, reminded us all that the responsibility of remembrance does not end with Holocaust survivors. It is carried forward by their children, their grandchildren, and by all of us. As we've already heard tonight, pupils from schools across North Tyneside contributed readings and performances as part of this very moving event. I would like to take this opportunity to thank members of the Holocaust Memorial Working Group and everyone else involved, the schools, the children or young people, everyone involved in the organisation and support of the event. And as part of the commemoration, St Mary's Lighthouse, which was used to launch the week of commemoration events, was lit purple. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I'd like to thank everybody for your attendance this evening. The meeting is now closed. The next meeting will be held on Thursday, the 12th of February, 2026. Thank you.